Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman. We're talking Main Street and the small business lender who helps it grow. Lance Sexton, Executive Vice President of Fountainhead. John Riosti, you're no longer Community Bank. You're with the American Banker. But what is your official editorial title these days?
As far as I know, Community Banking Report.
Oh, well, very good, John. We missed you last week, so I'm glad you're back. Glad you had a nice little R&R. John, we talked about this on Friday, but I really want to get your insights on this for a couple of reasons. One, it's a slow news week, so I'm glad you can help us out. But this hit last week while you're on vacation. So let's ask the audience, first of all, do you believe the PPP fees paid to the lenders by the government were fair, too low, or just about right?
Well, I have a real strong opinion on this, Bob.
Well, Lance, I'll let you go first. What's your guess, or what's your opinion?
No, I think the fees are fair because I think a lot of people look at the lender fee and the 1%, the incredible 1% interest, and they look at the origination process. Everybody popped in, worked real hard for a short burst, and got the loans on the books, but they don't take into account the part that I spend a lot of my life in, which is servicing, guarantee purchase, and liquidation of these PPP loans. Loans that were made almost 2 years ago, we're still taking care of. We're still working on, and we have been working on for 2 years. So, I believe the fees were very fair to compensate financial institutions for all the work that has gone into taking care of the PPP loans once they get on the books.
John, is this an issue, or is this an issue?
You're talking about the fees. I don't think so.
Yes. Okay.
I think most people probably agree with Lance, and I agree with him definitely that the fees were appropriate. They, I guess people would have wanted them to be higher, certainly, but they were fair. They were fair to the lender and fair to the government.
Joseph, let's put up let's hold on to the second poll question. Let's put up the chart on what the fees were paid, and this is what I'm looking at. The last column here. J.P. Morgan's over $1 billion. Bank of America, 946 million. Those are eye-popping numbers, but when you count, that's all that the lenders got. They did not get any interest income as they would off the 7A loan.
Very little interest income. Their cost, so the margin between 1% and what they actually paid or cost of funds was very minimal. So the fee is where they paid for everything.
John, did these numbers, the fact that we J.P. Morgan crossed the $1 billion threshold, is that going to be an issue? Is that an issue, or is that?
No, it's not an issue because this is definitely an interesting chart, and it's definitely has very good information, but it's not complete with regard to this subject because you can't look at just the loan fees that they receive. You have to look at the costs, and that it costs them money to make these loans and participate in this process. So, so you have to look at the cost as well.
You have the top two, and they go, well, that's almost $2 billion. That is $2 billion in fees, but wait a minute, it was $620,000, 620,000 small businesses we helped.
Yes,
that's.
Well, one of the challenges is we don't take into account the lost opportunity. These banks dedicated incredible numbers of team members to the PPP loan process. I've worked it from 2 different institutions. So during the origination process, people that would normally be processing and closing commercial loans were pulled off of that to help with PPP. So, there's a lot of cost involved with the origination, servicing, and liquidation of these loans. And there's also opportunities that financial institutions may have missed because they were so swamped with PPP and they dedicated so many people to PPP that they did miss some opportunities. And it's just like right now, guys. The 2021 loans are coming to the end of the deferment period, to the end of the covered period plus the deferment period. Statements are going out, and there's getting ready to be a deluge of guaranteed purchases. You know, I'm in process right now of adding a substantial number of contractors to help us with that project. It's a cost that our company would not have had to be, incur had we not been so active in PPP.
Let's. This chart is from, the numbers are from SBA. It was quoted by McClatchy. This is this top 20. So you can see the rest of the fees down there, a couple $100 million for the balance of that. But let's talk about the first column, the forgiveness rate. Go back one, Joseph. And Lance, what are the rules? The rules are, first of all, I read the lawsuit. The lawsuit is a civil lawsuit. However, Cabbage did disclose last week, we can't give you information because we are under investigation by 2 attorney generals for this issue. When you read the lawsuit, it's interesting. They're not going after them for the PPP granting the loans because the lenders are shielded from that in the original legislation. They're going after them for what they did after they funded it. And here they're pointing at Cabbage with that huge, only 54% forgiveness rate and saying it's causing a lot of grief to their customers. Lance, very quickly, what are the rules? How long does the lender have to forgive a loan?
Well, typically when a borrower submits it to the lender, they've got 30 days to get it submitted to SBA, but it doesn't take that long. There's, 54% forgiveness is a very low number. There's something about their forgiveness. And especially, the biggest question that I have is, are they participating in SBA's direct forgiveness portal? Because that number doesn't make sense.
No, Cabbage, I'm interrupting you, Lance, I'm sorry. The answer is no. Cabbage chose not to participate with the portal, and that's was part of the lawsuit. They decided to do their own, and you can see that obviously that decision may have not been fully thought out. Go ahead, Lance. I'm going to let you finish.
Well, it still doesn't make sense to me, Bob, because there are a lot of institutions on this list that are in the 90s that probably did not use the direct portal. Now, we were huge fans of the direct portal, but there's something about their forgiveness process that obviously is not working if they're down at 50. And most of the loans that I understood, most of the loans that Cabbage did were in 2020. Is that correct?
I don't know. Delaney may know that. Delaney, are you on? Are you waiting in the wings here?
I am here, but I cannot give you a definitive answer. Let me look.
That's okay, but let me ask you this. What is the average forgiveness rate industry-wide? That I think you know. I don't know.
For 2020, it is, I believe, 97%.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Makes sense. And 2021 is a little bit lower, obviously.
Yes, I believe the average overall is 95%, I want to say.
All right.
Or early 90s.
So, John, from your perspective, sitting in Washington, looking at these numbers, Cross River Bank, 74%. I think if you go on the next slide, Joseph, Customers Bank is also
Up there.
77. And Fifth Third is 79%. Do those, I guess my question is, do those concern you? Does that, just what is your thought about that?
I don't, it doesn't, to me, Cabbage concerns me because
It's so low. Right.
is exceptionally low, and perhaps they did miss an opportunity to help themselves by not participating in the direct loan portal, because from all accounts, it's an easy and efficient and effective tool.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps, that was, a missed opportunity for them. I don't know why they made the decision not to participate. Maybe it makes good sense. But, from an outsider, perhaps, it just looks to me like maybe they missed an opportunity there.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's Monday, yeah, Monday morning quarterbacking is very easy. Oh, 53% versus 97%. That's a problem. Go ahead, John.
I'm much more familiar with customers, and I know that their process is relatively simple. So, and once again, effective. And I know people just through reporting, and also just because I do know people. There were a lot of loans made, and I know some people who got loans. That their process was, simple and easy. That there's they had no hangups there. So you got the 77%, and perhaps there was some imputation that there was some fraud. With those lenders, or with some of the lenders who have the lower numbers, and that could be, but you have this, we've talked about it before, this hardcore of people who for some reason, whatever reason, have not, number one, filed forgiveness. And then you have, other people who got loans under legitimate, under legitimate auspices, but use the money differently, and they're not eligible for forgiveness. So there are a lot of reasons that some banks might be a little lower. And with regard to Cross River and with regard to customers and Cabbage as well, they did a lot of, I guess, more so if Cabbage did most of their lending in 2020. Definitely with regard to Cross River, with regard to customers, they did a lot of their lending in 2021 to a lot of very, whatever you want to call it, very small enterprises, a lot of sole proprietorships and other things. And, that might play into the reason why they're number.
That's a good analysis. I just want to clean up one thing. When John says fraud, we're talking about fraud at the customer level,
yes,
not the bank level.
Bank level at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to clarify that. We're not impugning any of these lenders. So, John, I just want to...
Well, one thing I'd want to add to what John's saying, and he's right on point, there is a population of PPP borrowers, for whatever reason, are not submitting for forgiveness. And, I've had the pleasure, of course, I'm going to have PTSD from this, but the pleasure of working a very substantial population of PPP loans. And I project in 2020, the percentage that are not going to apply for forgiveness certainly is much lower than the 2021 PPP loans. In 2020, I think the number's somewhere between 2 and 5% that for whatever reason just do not apply for forgiveness. In 2021, I think the number's at least double that. I think it's going to be 8 to 10% who just never apply and become guaranteed purchases. I was looking, we use both the direct forgiveness platform and we have our own forgiveness platform. And while John was talking, I flipped over and looked. Our own forgiveness platform, we're at 94%. And that would be all the PPP loans over 150. So we've had pretty good success at getting those pushed through. But, the only thing I can tell you right now, forgiveness is trickling. It's not,
Lance, I'm not going to ask you what your numbers are, but let me ask you this. Of your remaining 6%, Delaney said the industry is 5-6%. What percentage of those are making their payments and what percentage are totally incommunicado?
There's a very minimal number of PPP borrowers who are actually making payments.
Minimal. Okay.
And John, and I don't know what the percentage is, guys, but John made a great point. The 2021 loans went to independent contractors, Schedule C filers, sole proprietors. It's either, I don't know what the reasoning is for some of those people not applying for forgiveness. And we have had a very aggressive marketing campaign to get forgiveness pushed through via text message, emails, phone calls. We've done everything we can. And there's this stubborn segment of the 2021 PPP borrowers that just are not going to apply for forgiveness. So as a result, we're going to have a huge guaranteed purchase project.
Lance, walk us through what happens once you submit it for guaranteed purchase. Do we know how aggressive the government is in collecting this? Is it just going to go with all the other unpaid government debt?
Well, it's going to be interesting.
Insight on that?
So, the thing that I note in working guarantee purchases, if it's under $100,000, it does not have a box that checks for Treasury referral. If it's over 100, you have to answer the Treasury referral questions. SBA typically, if somebody defaults on a loan, is submitted for guaranteed purchase and it's charged off. If they have not filed for bankruptcy or the business is not identified as being closed, then it gets referred to Treasury. The Treasury is going to have their hands full, guys, with work on this.
John, I'm asking this poll question because I want to know from your perch, how serious the cabbage situation is for the entire industry. So that's why we're asking this poll question. Do you think basically is that going to affect you? No impact. John? No, look at that. Great deal. 0%.
Well,
let John go first. Yeah, go ahead, John.
Well, I wouldn't think it would. I think most banks, had, made their decisions internally and just like with everything else, did what is best for them. And this isn't a situation that lends itself to competition. So, you can compete on rates, you can compete on service, you can compete on a lot of things, but I don't really think you can compete on PPP forgiveness. You just
go ahead, Lance.
That did your best.
Well, and the thing I'll share with you guys, there's a big community of PPP lenders. We all talk to each other. We're all still trying to solve problems that SBA has not solved for us yet. In the PPP forgiveness process and in the guaranteed purchase process.
Oh, Joseph, did we lose Lance or what's going on?
Yeah, we lost Lance. Sorry, Lance. Can't hear you.
Lance, you're not. Yeah. What about John? Go ahead, John.
Well, I think this is gonna be a very interesting situation. Number one, when you look at it, another way, here you have one institution, Cabbage, that's having some difficulty with forgiveness. But by and large, you're talking about a massive program in roughly, 90%, somewhere, above 90%, in both vintages, 2020 and 2021, you've achieved that level of forgiveness, which is, that's pretty remarkable.
The reason why I bring this up, John, is in the past, especially in the origination, we had an issue with poultry loans. So then the guidelines were issued that affected all of us. We had issues with business acquisition loans. The lender was doing something strange, and so that affected the entire industry. So that's why I'm asking the cabbage situation. Is it going to impact the industry? People out there don't think so, John. I think you're saying no as well. So that's good news for the lending community.
I don't think so because they're also in another. They marketed to a certain level of business. They marketed to businesses that felt that they didn't get the proper service from maybe their main lender. And I thought that was interesting. The Bank of America is well over 90% in forgiveness. They were absolutely excoriated in the early days of PPP because they were lending to the businesses they knew, the businesses they had relationships with. And it seemed to me that was prudent banking, and they got crushed for it. And at the other end, they're not getting any benefit or any praise or any.
They'll get praise here. Good for everybody in the 90%. How's that, John?
I'm back.
Fascinating conversation. Lance, you sort of went off the grid. But
Well,
welcome back.
they're doing road construction down the road from my house, and I suspect they're messing with the Ethernet cables or the fiber optic or whatever.
Poorly. Hey, for Lance's webinar, please, if you have questions beforehand, put them in, send them to us now. Lance and I have been going over the content. Lance, it's going to be more, I mean, you're going to present the things we need to know, but you want a lot of case studies and answer specific questions because, Lance, that's what you do every day, correct?
Well, the thing I want to do, this is a little different than other webinars. PPP forgiveness, like I don't know if you guys heard this, but there's a community of PPP lenders that bounce ideas off one another and share information. I want everyone to have access to that. So we're going to present a topic, and then we're going to pause and let you ask questions. So think about your questions before the webinar. Again, it's just an opportunity for me to help answer as many as I can. I don't know 100% of all the PPP question answers, but I do know quite a few, and I'll answer as many as possible.
Great. With that, John, thank you so much for joining us. I enjoyed the conversation. That's, as you said, we need to give credit where credit's due, so we're able to do that. Lance, thank you for joining us as well, and this concludes today's program. Thank you for joining us and supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us today for today's episode. If you like today's content, hit that subscribe button to subscribe to our channel and click that bell icon to get notified about our latest videos. Thank you again for joining us today and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time. Catch you next time.